You walk away from a conversation and something is wrong. Your chest is locked. Your mind is a fucking blender. You replay it over and over. Where did you lose? What did you miss? And the craziest part? Nothing blew up. No one yelled. No one threw a punch. There is no moment you can point to and say, that was the hit. But you feel hit. You feel smaller than you did 60 minutes ago. Like someone reached into your ribs and quietly turned your volume down to 0. That feeling has a name, and if you have ever felt it, you are not broken, but you are being played. Welcome. Today we are not holding hands. We are not here to affirm your feelings. We are here to tear apart the mechanics of toxic behavior, the real mechanics, the ugly ones, the ones your therapist won't tell you because it sounds too dark. Here is the truth no one in your life wants to say out loud. Being soft with the wrong person is not kindness. It is an invitation. And today, we end that. Before we go further, get one thing straight. This is not about becoming a ghost. This is not about losing your fire. This is about understanding a game you did not even know you were losing. Because you cannot defend against a weapon you cannot name. Identity attack. You are playing the wrong game. Most people make one fatal mistake when they meet a toxic person. They assume the other player has the same rulebook. They assume if they just explain their feelings clearly enough, the other person will finally get it. They assume if they're patient enough, forgiving enough, sweet enough, the other person will eventually come around. That assumption is not noble. It is a suicide pact. Here's what's actually happening. A toxic person does not feel relationships like you do. Where you see connection, they see a control panel. Where you show a weakness, they mark a target. Where you offer trust, they load the gun. This is not movie evil. Most of them do not even know they're doing it. It's just their operating system. And you trying to explain your feelings to that operating system is like trying to teach a shark to knit. The hardware does not support it. So, the first shift you need to make is brutal but simple. Stop trying to fix the incompatibility by bending yourself into a smaller version of you. Stop shrinking. Stop over-explaining. Stop performing endless little acts of service hoping they will finally see your worth. They already see your worth. That's exactly why they keep feeding on you. Villain creation. What drives the predator? What lives inside a toxic person? Fear. But not the kind you feel in a dark alley. A quieter, colder terror. A fear of being nothing. A fear of being forgettable. A fear of just being another face in the crowd. And the way they kill that fear is by making sure they matter to you. By making sure they can flip your emotional switch anytime they want. Because if they can wreck your afternoon with one sentence, they must be powerful, right? Your reaction is not a side effect. Your reaction is the entire meal. Once you truly understand that, everything changes. Because now you know they're not trying to have a conversation, they're trying to harvest a response. And when you stop providing that response, their whole machine seizes up. Power mechanism. Become unreadable. The most lethal move you can make against a toxic person is also the hardest. You must become a dead face. Think about a card sharp at a high-stakes table. They don't flinch, not with a losing hand, not with a royal flush. The cards don't matter. What matters is that no one can read them. That stillness is not weakness. That stillness is a weapon. Toxic people are emotional bloodhounds. They've spent their whole lives learning to scan you, to poke you, to find the cracks. They're looking for the buttons, the old wounds, the topics that make your eye twitch. If they know you're insecure about your work, they'll find ways to question your competence. If they know you fear being alone, they'll use silence like a blade. If they know you need approval, they'll hold it just out of reach, like a carrot on a string. Your defense is to give them nothing to read. In psychology, there's a technique called the gray rock. You become boring, flat, unremarkable. Short answers, no emotional fuel. We're going to sharpen that into a blade. Tactical Directive 1, the pause and the flat line.
When someone throws a punch disguised as a comment, your instinct is to defend. That instinct is human, and it is exactly wrong. The second you defend, you confirm the punch landed. You just handed them a map to your chin. Instead, try this. When provoked, stop. One slow breath. Then respond with something completely neutral. Not angry, not sarcastic, just flat. Example, you're in a meeting. A colleague named Mark says loud enough for everyone, well, some of us have been out here doing the actual work. He's baiting you. He wants you to squirm.
The weak response is to justify. I was in client meetings all week, Mark. You know that. Now you look rattled. Now the room is watching you defend instead of watching the agenda. The lethal response is different. You look at Mark. You pause for 3 full seconds. It feels like an hour. Then you say, calm and dead, "Interesting point, Mark," and you turn back to the board. That is it. What just happened? You denied him the reaction he came for. You made his comment look small, not by insulting him, but by treating it like a fart in the wind. Everyone in that room felt the shift. Mark pushed. You did not push back. You stepped aside, and he stumbled into his own silence. That is not passivity. That is precision. Tactical Directive 2. Information blackout. Here's something most people never consider. Every personal detail you share with a toxic person is a bullet they are saving for later. This is not paranoia. This is pattern recognition. When you tell a toxic friend you are struggling with money, they will remember, not to help you, to use it 6 months from now in front of others. When you confide in a manipulative coworker that your home life is messy, that information does not stay private. It becomes a file. They are not collecting these details because they care. They are collecting them because knowledge is control, and control is everything to them. So, what do? You become strategically vague. Not rude, not cold, just vague. When a toxic person asks how you are, you say, busy, a lot going on, working through it. You? You said something, you were pleasant, you revealed nothing, and you threw the spotlight back on them, which they love because they want to talk about themselves anyway. While they are talking, you are listening. You are learning. You are safe. This applies to social media too. If you post your pain, they see an open wound. If you post your victory, they see exactly what to target. Privacy is not deception. Privacy is armor. Tactical Directive 3. Fogging. Agree to win. There's a technique that sounds backwards, but once you use it, it becomes your hammer. It's called fogging. Instead of arguing with a toxic person, you agree with just enough of what they say to remove their ability to fight. Here's why it works. When they attack, they expect resistance. They have loaded their cannon. They want a war. That back and forth is their home turf. But what if you just walked off the battlefield? Not by running, by removing the friction. Example. A controlling parent says, "You never call, you never visit, you clearly don't care about this family." The natural response is to defend, to list every call, every holiday. That turns into a 40-minute death spiral you will never win. Not because you are wrong, but because they don't care about facts, they care about the fight. The fogging response is this: "You're right, I probably haven't called as much as you'd like." Then you stop. You do not apologize for your whole life. You do not promise to change. You just agree with the surface and leave the premise untouched. That phrase, "you're right," is a bomb in these situations. They have their gloves on, their argument ready, and you just sat down and poured tea. There's nowhere for their aggression to go. Another example. Gaslighting. They say, "You are completely irrational." The defensive response is, "I am not irrational. You started this." Now they say, "See, you are proving my point." The fogging response is, "I can see why it might look that way." Period. You have not agreed you are irrational. You have not conceded anything real. You just acknowledged their perception without validating it, and you left them with nothing to grab.
Your ego will hate this. Your ego wants justice. Ask yourself honestly, how many arguments have you won with a toxic person? Real wins where they said, "You were right, I was wrong." Almost never. Because they don't argue to find truth, they argue to dominate. Give them the small win, keep your peace, and go build the life they told you you could not have. Tactical Directive 4. Make your absence a weapon. We've talked about how to act when you're near them. Now let's talk about something stronger, not being there at all. Availability has a price. When you are always there, always responding, always showing up, you teach people that access to you is free. And when something is free, they treat it like garbage. The toxic person has gotten comfortable with unlimited access to your time, your attention, your emotional energy. They have built their strategy around it. When you start withdrawing that access, you break their entire model. You can't always quit the job. You can't always cut off the family member overnight, but you can always practice emotional absence. Stop answering every text in seconds. Stop picking up every call. Stop going to every gathering out of duty. These are not passive-aggressive games. These are boundaries, and boundaries are simply information about what you will no longer accept.
When you create distance, they will notice. They will push back. Why are you so distant? What is going on with you? Your answer is simple. Just busy, focusing on some personal things. Then redirect or end the conversation. What you are doing is recalibrating. You are teaching them through action, not words, that access to you is not guaranteed. It must be earned. It can be revoked. Tactical Directive 5. The quiet exit. There are situations where no strategy, no boundary, no distance is enough. Some relationships are so rotten that the only answer is to leave completely. And when that moment comes, most people blow it. They announce it. They write the long letter. They have the tearful final conversation where they finally say everything they have held back for years. They think that will bring closure, that if they can just make the other person understand the damage, something will shift. Here is the reality. A person who has spent years choosing control over connection will not have a revelation because you gave a speech. They will not apologize the way you need. They will not give you the acknowledgement you deserve. What they will do is use that final conversation as one more chance to manipulate, one more chance to guilt you, one more chance to pull you back in with just enough fake emotion to make you doubt yourself again. The cleanest exit is a quiet one. When you have made your decision and you are sure, you simply begin to disappear. Respond less, engage less, create distance without drama, and then one day you stop. Block the number if you need to. Remove them from your feeds. Change the patterns that gave them access. You do not owe anyone a goodbye that gives them ammunition to pull you back. And yes, they will hate the silence. They will find it maddening. They will try to get a reaction through mutual friends or surprise contact attempts. They need the last word. They need to know they won or that they were wronged. Either one works for them as long as they get a final scene. Silence denies them that. And there is a cold, quiet power in choosing your peace over their need for a performance. Future self-dominance. What comes after? Now let's talk about what comes after, because the after is the whole point. The goal of everything we have covered is not to beat them. It is not to prove something to them. Revenge, real revenge, does not look like getting back at someone. It looks like forgetting they exist while you build something unstoppable. Get stronger, develop your skills, chase your ambitions without apologizing. Find people who respond to your openness with respect instead of exploitation. Invest in yourself in every way you have been neglecting. And here's something worth sitting with. The version of you that was being drained, manipulated, and diminished in that relationship, that was not the real you. The real you is what is underneath all of that, the version that has been waiting quietly for enough space to finally breathe. That is who you were building toward, not to show the toxic person what they lost, not to perform your success for their viewing. Do it because you deserve a life that actually fits who you are.
do it because somewhere along the way, you started believing the limited version of yourself they reflected back at you. And that version was never true. You were never too sensitive. You were never too much. You were never the problem they needed to manage. You were a person who extended trust to someone who did not deserve it. That is not a character flaw. That is a lesson, and now you have it. The final frame: strength is not coldness. Let me spend a minute on something that gets twisted in conversations like this. When we talk about strategy, emotional neutrality, protecting your information, managing your absence, it can start to feel cold, like we are turning human beings into chess pieces. That is not the goal. The goal is the opposite. The goal is to protect the fire in you, to preserve your ability to truly connect, to be vulnerable, to trust, because all of those things are what make life worth living, and they deserve to be offered to people who will honor them. The mistake was never in being warm. The mistake was in being indiscriminate about who received that warmth. Think of a house with no doors. Anyone can walk in. Anyone can sit down. Anyone can take what they want and leave a mess. The solution is not to burn down the house. The solution is to install a door, a solid door that you choose to open for the right people. Everything we have built today is that door. Behind it, you are still you, still capable of deep connection, still willing to be vulnerable with people who have earned it. In fact, once you stop leaking all your energy on people who drain you, you'll find you have so much more for the people and the pursuits that actually matter. True strength is not the absence of feeling. True strength is feeling everything and still choosing your response deliberately. It is the difference between being pulled by every current and choosing your own direction. A person who cannot be hurt is not strong. They are just numb. A person who can be hurt and still chooses grace, still chooses strategy over impulse, still chooses long-term peace over short-term satisfaction, that person is dangerous. That person is free. That is who you are becoming. Not by becoming colder, by becoming more intentional. Not by closing off, by being selective. Not by defeating toxic people, by outgrowing them. By becoming someone they simply cannot touch anymore.
There is a particular kind of silence that follows a victory in this game. Not the silence of fear, not the silence of avoidance, the silence of someone who no longer needs to justify their existence to people who were never actually interested in understanding it. That silence is gold, and it is already within your reach. We have covered a lot. The psychology, the tactics, the quiet exit, the life on the other side. Here is what I want you to do right now. First, save this video. You will need to hear it again. Second, pick one tactic from today, just one, and use it the next time someone tries to pull you into their game. Do not try all of them at once. Master one, then the next, then the next. Third, share this with someone who needs to hear it, not the soft version of this message, the real version. The person in your life who is constantly confused, constantly drained, constantly wondering what they are doing wrong. Send them this. You might save them years of suffering. And finally, understand this. You came here because something in your life has been draining you. Someone whose presence leaves you smaller rather than larger. Someone who has left you confused and hurt and wondering what is wrong with you. Let me tell you what has been wrong. You have been playing fair with someone who is not playing the same game. That's it. That's the whole answer. You are not weak. You are not naive. You just had not been taught the rules of the actual game being played. Now you have them. Go build something with this knowledge. Go back to your life with new eyes and a new vocabulary for what you are seeing. Set your boundaries early and hold them calmly. Choose your words carefully and your silences even more carefully. Invest your trust like it is valuable because it is. Guard your information like it matters because it does.
and most importantly, build the life that has been waiting for you on the other side of all of this. The relationships, the work, the version of yourself that has enough space and safety to actually grow into who you are meant to be. That is not a small thing. That is everything. Thank you for the time. If this hit you, hit like, hit subscribe, and come back. There is always more to learn, more to build, more to take. Now go take it.